Hello, everybody. Before we get into today's episode, here is your weekly disclaimer. Yes, we are aware that Arturo's video, for the most part, in this is frozen and it doesn't move a lot, and that's because we are having some connection issues. I just wanted to acknowledge it. The audio is still fine, and this is a podcast, so it shouldn't ruin anything. That's all I have to say this week. Okay, enjoy the episode.
Karstcast. My name is Jeff. I watch movies sometimes. And I'm Karsten. I also watch movies sometimes. You're listening to the Karstcast Moviecast.
Welcome to the Karstcast Moviecast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your
He almost had it.
Your ho-host, Karsten Runquist, and joining me, he's from Florida, he's from Chicago, he's from New York City. It's Jeffrey Borslow, Arturo Zurita, and Zachary Shevich from the Intercut Podcast. Great. Thanks for being here, guys.
Appreciate it. I like it.
Thank you.
I don't think you understand. I practiced reading that out loud 3 different times today, and I still messed it up.
But in the best way possible. So
yeah. But I'm super excited about this because let me just get this out of the way. I don't listen to any movie podcasts, really. No disrespect to any other movie podcast, but I do listen to you guys' podcast.
Okay, I feel like you should have said that as the first thing before saying you don't listen to any movie podcasts.
Yeah, well, I did.
It sounded like you didn't listen to their podcast either.
But if I did, I might listen to theirs.
Yeah, for sure. But thanks for being here, you guys. If you guys want to introduce yourselves at all or say anything.
Yeah, this is Zach.
Okay.
And that's Art.
Awesome.
And we run a podcast called Intercut.
Nice.
That is a catchier name than our podcast.
Yeah,
Just
you
objective.
guys. I like you guys' greeting too. It's a good one.
That's how Zach.
Thanks. Yeah, I literally looked up a website that had a list of film terms, and we're like, which one of these might work for a podcast? Mm-hmm. And Intercut wasn't
A lot of
taken,
reels, a lot of cinemas.
Yeah.
But no one had done an Intercut yet.
That's good. Nice. There's
Had no one
definitely
done a Karstcast yet? Yeah,
No,
I was about to say. I was
surprisingly.
like, I wonder how many Google pages you went through. You're like, all right, I think this is the one. I'm gonna settle in.
That podcast was taken. That's why we had to settle with
Yeah.
Karstcast. Yeah, not really. We just messed
I can
up
imagine.
big time.
No, we got so many messages from people that were like, you should have called it Podcast. Like, we didn't think of
Podcast?
that and just chose not to.
That would have been kind of
Yeah.
funny. That would have been pretty funny.
It would have been way better. But how have you guys been? How have you been doing with the whole quarantine business? As like movie critics and all that jazz.
I mean, for a while it was, pretty interesting to try and navigate, like, how are we going to spend an hour every week talking about movies when virtually nothing's coming out? There's no movie theaters open. I feel like now it's been a lot better. Definitely as we got into the fall, there's all these virtual festivals and more movies coming to VOD or whatever streaming services. So, at least the supply of movies has been good. Personally, that there's ups, there's downs, but I don't have it worse than a lot of people right now, so I can't complain about that too much.
For sure. Yeah.
I think the last time I went to the theater was for, I don't know, the last week in March when everybody was still going right before Mulan had come out. So it's like the experience is completely different. But like Zach said, you have enough independent movies that came out this year that I think make still, discussing movies something that you can still do on a weekly basis. But when it came to movie news, it was like, how many times can you report that Tenet has been delayed or that Tenet or that whatever the new Tenet news was for that week. But I don't know. It's been crazy to see how things have changed. Like with the Wonder Woman news recently.
Yeah.
Everything's different. So
It's been weird to see like movies get for example, The French Dispatch and Dune, see them just keep getting pushed back and now they're off the release schedule entirely. Like that's been really, because right now it's like we kind of had an idea of when we can see them, but now it's just very mysterious and I'm like, when am I gonna see that Wes Anderson movie?
yeah.
We're also in the weird position of having been to Sundance, and like the thing that's great about Sundance is you get to see these movies before they are sometimes bought or have a release date.
Yeah.
And now it's like, all right, is Promising Young Woman even going to come out? Like, when are we going to be able to talk about?
And I told him to skip it. I said, Zach, don't you worry. It's coming out in April. You don't have go watch another movie, Zach, and he did. And there was no release date for Promising Young Woman.
Oh no! But yeah, that was one of my most anticipated out of that festival. That and Minari. I'm really excited to see both of those.
It's excellent. I'm excited to be able to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
At some point. Who knows?
I remember at TIFF, actually, the TIFF before this year, the last one I was in person for. I remember skipping out on Saint Maud. Because I think to see another movie I had already seen possibly, and I was like, it'll be in theaters in like a month, and it's been almost 2 years now, and I still have not seen Saint Maud.
You skipped it for The Lighthouse?
It might have been that night. I don't want to think about it too
plead the
hard.
fifth. If it was that night though, that was you got to meet a Safdie brother. You got to actually see the movie.
Yeah,
sitting right next to the A to Z show, so I mean, it was like a really good experience that one moment.
Yeah, maybe, but I might have overhyped that movie a little too much to you. The Lighthouse, that is.
The only thing was Pattinson was right there. I mean, how was I not going to be, with Pattinson like reacting to everything that was happening in the movie? But I got denied from Saint Maud. Yeah. So I haven't seen that one either, but yeah. I think with the virtual releases, we're little by little starting to get a bunch of other movies, so it's working out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, because I haven't actually really been able to talk to anybody about this, about like how you guys think these virtual fests are going, or like which ones you've attended so far, and just like what your take on it is. Because I feel like I did New York Film Festival, and I really liked it, but it was definitely weird and a little hard. It was less exciting, because it's like, there's having a 3-day window, and then there's waiting in a line for 3 hours and getting the thrill of finally getting in. Sometimes not getting in. So I was just going to get your guys' take on how that's been.
I mean, there's aspects of it that are great, right? Like that you can watch these movies at your leisure, and you don't have to necessarily like hike across town or like get there right on time at 7:15, or you're gonna miss the start of it. The viewing windows is something that has been like both great and bad, as Arturo knows, because I rented I think I rented The Father and Whirlybird and Black Bear, which I saw before, and missed the window where I'm allowed to start and finish the movie. So it's different, but I think the main thing, though, is it takes away a lot of the communal experience. And what's the most fun about having been to Sundance with a bunch of people is, like, you go back and you see somebody waiting for another movie, and you talk about what you just saw, or you catch up at the end of the day, or you bond with somebody you never met before over a new movie. And, the virtual experience does rob you of that, even if it does make it a little bit easier to maybe catch more movies or a different variety of movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I have been to Chicago International Film Festival virtually. I went to Fantasia virtually.
Yeah.
I went to St. Louis virtually. I went to Indie Memphis virtually. I did AFI virtually.
You've been around the world virtually.
Pretty much. And this video is
like
brought
the
to you
VR
by
goggles that you
Insert the
for Google
VPN.
Earth.
Practically, yeah. I mean, so it's not the same, but I think it's been really cool, and I think a lot of people have been able to jump on it. Like when we've done, the LME streams, we'll be like, oh, we just caught this movie at this film festival, and it's cool to, for it to be a little bit different than being at Sundance and being like, you guys should catch this movie if you're in Salt Lake City. If you're not, that sucks. But in this case, it's like someone can literally just go onto the website and purchase a ticket, and the tickets are, $10, $12, and you can see it from the comfort of your own home. I think it's like a trade-off.
Watching it on, like, do any of you have like good home theater setups for this?
I have a pretty decent one.
Yeah, I've seen Arts. It's crazy. It's messed up how good it is.
Yeah, Carson saw it.
Do you do like the AirPlay or the So you do the AirPlay or whatever to get it on the big screen?
No, the AirPlay glitches like crazy. I've been seeing a lot of critics who I feel, no offense to the critics, who are over the age of 35, who like don't seem to know how to like work the technology. And granted, there are a bunch of glitches that are happening, but I think a lot of them just don't know what they need to do. It's like the AirPlay's not working. Then connect it through HDMI, it'll stop glitching. Right. Or they'll have like an Apple TV and they're AirPlaying. I was like, why not just download the app on that Apple TV? I feel we need a film critics like Geek Squad to like help them out in order for them to be able to get the experience they need, because in that case you are ruining the entire movie experience if it's just glitching out on you. But no, it's been pretty dope. I saw Nina Wu recently, which I know you had caught.
I saw that at Cannes. Yeah, that was.
I didn't have to travel all the way to France. I was in my bed watching that movie. But it's cool.
Yeah, that's an interesting movie. Can I get you guys' take on something real quick? I've been in this like little argument between, well, not an argument, but Jeff has brought it to my attention that I say interesting a lot. And that's not the right way to say it, right? Am I in the wrong here for saying interesting?
Jeff, how do you say it?
Interesting.
I think like it's peculiar. A matter of how literally you want to pronounce every letter in that word, I think. Like
And speaking of that, in England they say literally instead of literally, but I'm definitely on team literally.
Same. I feel like that more reflects the way it's spelt and the way that it like reads when I just look at it phonetically. Totally.
Yeah.
See, I'm always worried that I'm overpronouncing like the A in theater. Theater.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of elegant when you say it like that, though.
Theater. Yeah.
How do y'all say the word 10?
Tent?
10. Like the number.
Tent.
Oh, 10?
Oh, 10.
10.
Okay, both of us thought you were saying tent.
I thought you said, I was like tent. No,
Oh, great. Now I see that I don't know how to say 10.
No, it's definitely I think tent.
It may be a Midwestern thing. Right? Maybe that's why you like pronouncing all the syllables.
It could be, because I'm from Florida, so I don't even know. Because it's not even really the South. It's just like people from the North who moved here, and then some people from here. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. I think
you're both
argument. Right. Yeah, don't get into the argument with someone from New Zealand, because that's just like... I literally had that argument with someone like a year ago where they were like, yeah, you could tell I'm saying different words, right? I'm like, bin and bin. I'm like, what? It's the same thing. You're saying the same thing. And he was saying like the word like Ben, like I've been to the market, and the name Ben. And he says it in the same way. Bin. He's like, my friend Bin. I'm like, what?
Ben.
One more take on something. Jeff, can you say Wisconsin for us?
Wisconsin.
Is that weird to anybody else?
I feel like that's how I would say it.
Right, yeah. What's the correct way?
Wisconsin? I guess once I start overthinking it, then we get off track. You know what? I just take it back. There's nothing wrong with the way you guys say Wisconsin.
It swings. It could go either way. That's the type of state that it is. So.
Yeah. Well, I do want to get into, I think, the main segment of this episode. We do not...
Wait, the speaking part wasn't the main segment?
No, that was... Yeah, I guess we could just talk about this for like 30 minutes. No, I was gonna... We don't have a movie this week. Because actually, I thought it would be more beneficial, and I'm sure you guys will do something similar on your channel. I guess like closer to the end of the year. But I figured because we're about to get into like a really hectic movie season, because like everything's going to be dropping very soon. This happens every year. I was just wondering if there were any films that you guys have seen this year that have already been out and that you can watch right now or rent that you think people should catch up on before they get swamped by Mank and whatnot. But anyone is welcome to go first with their recommendations. I guess we could start with Jeff, though, if you wanted to.
You could start with me.
Yeah, you can kick it off if you want.
This is the saddest person to start with because I watch by far the least amount of movies of anyone here.
I just figured
I went through and counted all of my 2020 movies, and I even did this by American release to add a couple extra ones because I think that makes Portrait of a Lady on Fire eligible as a 2020 release. Yep. And then also Guns Akimbo, which was released in like New Zealand, and that's a terrible movie, and I still have to add that. But Yeah, that brings me to 17 2020 releases that I've seen.
That's not bad. That's not terrible.
It's enough to make a top 10.
I
Yeah.
feel like Arturo, though, has seen 17 films in a week before.
Yeah. Let me just say, when I went to Sundance with this man, you saw how many by the time I met up with you there? It was like in the 60s or something, or maybe like 40s, and you had been there for like 5 days. I was like, I just don't know how you do it.
I just sit there and eat popcorn. That's my diet for the week. But
Have you had a 6-movie day at Sundance?
myself, yes, I've had a 7-movie day at Sundance.
What?
I don't think it's possible to do more than 7.
No, I was
Do you
gonna
just have those glasses that have like the open eyes on them so you can sleep while it looks like you're still staring at
Just
the
to be
screen?
open the entire time. No, I wish I did though. That'd be incredible. But no, yeah, it's just a lot of stamina of watching movies from my blockbuster days. But I still think 17 is something to be proud of, because there is a lot of movies out there, and not everybody gets the ability to watch, that many movies at a film festival, because it's also really expensive. So I don't take it for granted. But no, 17 is solid.
I mean, I think 17 is like probably the number that like is the average number for people who are interested in movies at all.
Right.
It's true.
Or like 2020 releases. Like I think that's probably very low for someone who every week does a film podcast.
Nah, I mean we're not talking about new releases. We're talking about Kazam and stuff. So
I think that I even included one documentary on this list just to flesh out the list.
yeah.
But yeah, I think only like 5 of them weren't for the podcast.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I guess the top 10 is probably going to have like Palm Springs, Kajillionaire, Da 5 Bloods, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, if I'm counting that. I guess King of Staten Island, since again, I don't have a lot to choose from here. Bad Education.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of things we're looking at
Hey,
here.
that's-
I did
all
not write
good
this
picks.
list in order.
Yeah, those are
QB Halloween? No.
No.
Also a good pick.
At
Yeah,
number
wait,
one,
yeah.
what was the doc?
The doc was Class Action Park.
Yeah. I dig
That was all right.
Yeah, that was fun. That was like
Yeah.
something where the documentary wasn't especially well done. It was pretty much the most standard way you could have made that documentary, I think. But it was just such an interesting topic about a water park that's incredibly dangerous and somehow was allowed to be open.
He went to it.
Yeah, I did go to it when I was younger.
Really?
I did. One of my first memories is of being at the infirmary to pick up my cousin who had just gotten scraped on the Alpine slide.
Oh my god.
And they talk about like orange stuff. They had this orange liquid. They mentioned that in the documentary, and I remembered the color orange really vividly from that like 3-4-year-old memory that I had.
Wow.
But yeah, Class Action Park, it's I feel like documentaries sometimes they're really great because they're really well made, and sometimes they're fun because they're about really interesting things, and that's just one that's about an extremely interesting place.
Right, exactly.
And I just really liked all the times where they used Chris Gethard as a talking head. I mean,
Yeah.
that enough is worth watching. So
Yeah, honestly, they could have just had him as the only talking head, and it probably would have been just as good.
yeah, as the narrator or something.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, those are solid
But-
picks, Jeff.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not
so?
bad at all.
I mean, yeah. For what I had to work with, yeah.
Cool.
I would
For what
say
I had to
that
work with.
the film I most want to see that I have not seen is Nomadland.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. You haven't seen it, Art?
I have not. Did you catch it?
I caught it at New York. Yeah.
Okay. Did you see it at a? Wait, you saw it virtually in New York?
Yeah.
Because I know by the time it reached Chicago and a bunch of other places, the only way to see it was at a drive-in, and I was like, I don't want to freeze myself watching Nomadland, so I'll just
No.
wait for it to come out.
Yeah.
It would be kind of like in theme with the movie to
I was.
be huddled in your car watching it.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I don't know how much.
How accurate?
I don't want to be a meta viewer. Yeah.
You got to do like an outdoor projector screening.
Right? In a hatchback. But no, I'm waiting patiently for that one in Ammonite.
Me too. Yeah. So if that's it, Jeff, I want to toss it over to Zach. If you wanted to share some of your picks.
Sure. Yeah, I've got a few. One that I know that Art was also a really big fan of is First Cow, the latest Kelly Reichardt movie. Just a very beautifully told story of a friendship and the like beginnings of American capitalism. I really like how finely observed the details are in Kelly Reichardt's movies. I think she gets a lot of the like little habits of people across in a really interesting way in her films. And this story, I think, gives you a really intimate view of like that pioneering experience that usually is done in a much more adventurous, rugged way, or depicted in films that way. And this felt more like the human experience, or like how miserable it might actually feel to have to deal with all the difficulties of that time period. So yeah, I thought this was a delightful movie.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's
Did you guys get the chance to?
Yeah, I think we talked about this on the we talked about this on the podcast, right?
Yeah, we did an episode with Letterboxd Lucy.
Right. Yeah, we did a double feature episode of that and Spy Kids 3D. Basically the same movie.
Natural pairing.
Yeah.
Y'all need to curate your own film festival, because in that way you guys are gonna Rodriguez to like Malik. You don't know where it's gonna go.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up First Cow, and also because I really love that movie, and I think this is natural with Kelly Reichardt that I've been kind of learning by watching her movies. Is like I kind of struggle to summarize why I like them, because they're so subtle and they're doing very little things, but they're doing that really well, and I thought that was really well put. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could toss it over to Art if you had one.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick to docs because I want to show a little love for the documentaries. I think this year I've either gotten really old and I just like documentaries, but there's been a couple that I've really enjoyed. Earlier this year, I know you guys had mentioned Minari from Sundance, but one of my other favorite movies was Boy State, which is out on Apple TV.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really interesting documentary about like the 1,000 boys that they gather up in Texas for whatever reason to run pretty much their own. Like it's
mini
a political
government?
race that they're running. Yeah, they're mini government, and they're deciding on things on whether to secede as its own state and become its own nation, to gun laws, to a bunch of different things. But I thought it was just a very interesting vacuum of like how politics is run and just like the ins and outs and the things that you can exploit and such. And I think that goes well with my second pick that I also saw at one of the virtual festivals this year, Chicago, which is actually about Chicago, City So Real, which is also out on Hulu. And that's 5 episodes by Stephen James, right? Who did Hoop Dreams. I absolutely love that one as well. And it's like, the more I think about that one in particular, the better it gets, because it's 5 episodes just following the mayoral race in Chicago. And through that, they're able to like just see different pockets of the city because of the people who are running or who are going for those mayors. And then the 5th episode kind of follows up the original 4 that were released at Sundance by showing you what's happened in the city after Corona and during the protests that happened during the city. And I think it's an absolute masterpiece. So it's like, those would be a couple that I would say, if you have the chance, try to check out some documentaries. And Class Action Parks, for sure.
We were talking about City So Real a little bit on Intercut, and one of those things that Art mentioned is, you get this mayoral race that has all these different candidates in it, and I think sometimes when you look at like even the race for president and beyond the like main couple of candidates, there's all these other people, and sometimes you think to yourself like, well, who is that person appealing to? Who's that voter? And this documentary, without explicitly saying that, they give you all the different pockets, all the different perspectives of like who would be these different citizens in Chicago and what they're looking for in this mayoral race. It's a really fascinating documentary.
Nice. Yeah, I will have to check it out. I was gonna say, it's just like, I don't know if I'm alone here, but in general, I think this year has been really good for documentaries.
Hell yeah.
Because I mean, there's those 2 that you mentioned. There is, I mean, Class Action Park, but then there's Dick Johnson Is Dead, and
Amazing movie.
Feel Good Man, which I still haven't seen, but I heard is.
I think you're gonna love it.
It sounds like something I'd really be into, to be honest.
What'd you think of Dick Johnson?
I haven't seen Dick Johnson either.
Oh, no?
I'm just listing off titles.
That
here.
one's amazing. I cried like crazy watching that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was another one. Oh, I don't think this is a great doc, but Totally Under Control is just interesting because it was
Yeah, the
made
neon
this
one.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it did a great job at kind of summarizing at least like what happened and what's going on and where this is going. But yeah, I just think I don't usually pay attention that hard to documentaries, guiltily enough. But this year, it seems like they are like the front runners of the year, at least from my perspective.
I feel you.
To steer this like in a little bit of a different direction, like documentary hybrid. I don't know if either of you've got the chance to see Bloody Nose, Empty Pockets. It's this really interesting movie which competed at Sundance in the documentary category. It takes place at a bar in Las Vegas over its final 24 hours before it's closing, and it's just kind of this like fly on the wall look at the people who come in and out of this bar and what their lives are like and the relationships they've built at this dive bar way off the Las Vegas Strip. It's only after watching the documentary that I've come to find out this movie does not take place in Las Vegas. It takes place in New Orleans. It's at a bar that was constructed and cast, and for whatever reason, it's just got this documentary feel to it because it is sort of unscripted and it is sort of loose, and Sundance put it in the documentary category. But it's just this really fascinating cross-section of America, of all these different people who are kind of living these forgotten lives, and it's got just a few incredibly real moments that have stuck with me all year.
We got to interview
reminds
them.
me. Sorry, I was gonna say that reminds me of the Nathan For You episode when he sets up
Yes.
the theater seats in the bar.
Yes,
For the smoking?
Yeah.
it
That's
is
literally his review of the movie when he came out of Sundance.
It is that, but a documentary / not a documentary.
Yeah. Those guys
Wow.
are dope because they're a duo of directors as well, and they're pretty much just saying that because it's like to one of them, he kind of like gets it, and then the other guy's like, nah, we made a doc. Like, this is documenting Americans. And it really is. I think because I saw it, I thought it was a documentary just forwards and backwards. But they were telling us a story about how they got to film the behind the scenes for Wendy, the Peter Pan adaptation that came out earlier this year, that was also at Sundance by Fox, and that Fox hired them to make a behind the scenes thing. And then when they turned in this like making of all the struggles that the filmmaker went through and the ups and downs of making a studio film after making Beasts of the Southern Wild, they were like, we don't want this. We want like the chopped up. It was a blast working. They just wanted like the highlight bits, and they were like,
Commercial version.
we realized, they just wanted a commercial. So they sent us an unlisted link for the copy that's never gonna make it out. These guys are superb. So they're interesting guys. I'm very curious to see what else they're going to make, because they're very
Bill and Turner Ross, the co-directors.
yeah. They've done a couple of other movies that are like all completely out on Vimeo, and I don't know. I find that stuff interesting where they're up there with the studio system, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna make commercials. But yeah, I would highly recommend that movie. I think you guys would dig it.
Cool. Well,
Karsten, you haven't mentioned.
Yeah, I was gonna mention mine.
You're like, Karsten, what do you think?
Karsten, will toss it over to you. I'm gonna say, and I hope this comes out before the end of the year. I think I read somewhere that it might come out in December. I cannot confirm that though. But Shiva Baby.
Ooh.
I can't remember the director's name, but she just recently graduated from NYU. And it stars Rachel Sennott, I think is how you pronounce her name. She's a comedian. You may have seen her around on Twitter. And this movie is great. It's like just a little over an hour, basically. I think it's like an hour and 17. It's very short. And it's just about this woman who attends this Shiva, and her like her whole family is there, and her ex-girlfriend is there, and she's not entirely out to her family from what I understand, and her sugar daddy is there, and his wife is there, and it all collides in like such a short period of time, and I think it accomplishes so much And the closest thing I can compare it to is Uncut Gems. I think
See?
I've seen that a few different times, and I really I think there's so much to love about it that it's hard for someone not to at least enjoy something that this film has to offer.
And even if you don't, it sounds very short.
Yeah, it is very short, so you're in and out. So I just wanted to shout out that one. And then there's another one, real quick. It might be my favorite of the year so far, Kajillionaire,
Yes.
directed by Miranda July. I know this is a hit or miss for a lot of people. Some people really don't like it, but I think I just talked about it with Jeff and our pal Cookie on the last episode. We all really loved it because I think it is one of the most original films I've ever seen. It's got a super clever premise. It's doing a lot of really clever things that I don't want to spoil, and I just think it's one of the most original films out there, and it's doing everything it's doing really well. So I unfortunately I think it's a little expensive to rent or buy digitally right now, but I'm sure that will go down.
That movie's almost a little too beautiful for this earth, if you know what I mean. It's just kind of gentle and amazing. Yeah, I love that movie.
Thank you. Yeah, I think
it was the last one we might have caught.
Oh,
at Sundance.
Yeah, that might have been what we caught as we were on our way out of town.
Yeah,
and our group was divided on it, but I loved it.
Yeah, our group was divided. The audience was divided. We heard so many complaints coming out. People were divorcing as they left the theater. It was honestly ridiculous. But yeah, no, people were really split on that one. I think both of us all fell on the side that we really liked it.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I just think it's you put it really well, Zach. I think it's so precious and vulnerable. I think it's throwing so much at the screen, and I understand it doesn't work for a lot of people because of that, and maybe some people might get uncomfortable about it. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but I think I'm really glad it exists, and I want as many people to see it as possible.
Same. We both adored Shiva Baby as well. We've talked about that on Intercut a bunch. It's a great movie.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. I won't get into it, but there was two others that I was going to mention in case no one else brought them up. And I just want to shout out Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which is amazing. I think that one came out of Sundance, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to shout out that, and Bad Education, which is also, I think, deserves a bit more love than it's been getting.
Yeah.
Both of those are going to be in my top 10 at the end of this year. I'm pretty confident.
Me as well.
Easily. Yeah.
So yeah, I think unless anybody has any other movies they want to shout out while we're still here.
The Sonic the Hedgehog Oscar campaign officially rolls out in December, and if all of y'all would like to gather to support. No, that's pretty much it.
Carson, have you seen Deerskin?
No, I have not yet.
I just realized it's on HBO now. So it's hopefully more accessible to more people, but I have a feeling you'd like that movie.
Okay, I'm going to jot that down and remember that.
And Mandibles. There was this follow-up, too.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so man's got two movies practically in 1 year.
Yeah, Karsten, Rhubarb was a 2020 release, right?
Yeah, let's just gloss right past that one. It was a 2020 release. Cool. Well, yeah, I think that'll do. Make sure to check out all of these. I'm sure some of them are available on streaming. I honestly wasn't keeping track, but
most are.
Yeah, we can get into the Q&A section if you guys are cool with that. We got
sounds good.
3 fun little questions from the subreddit r/Karstcast. Head over there if you want to get in on the fun. There's memes and questions and much, much more. This first one comes from Renata Reddit, and it is, if you could be the director of any movie that already exists, which movie would you choose? Anyone can jump in on this one whenever they want.
I'd go with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. There's some camera trick stuff going on in that movie that I'm in awe of, and it's also just a really emotional, well-articulated movie. I don't know. I like that one a lot, and I'm both jealous of and know I will not ever be capable of that kind of filmmaking.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at that point, if I just if it's me who directed it, but the film's the exact same, I feel like I'm not really the director of the film, so I'd probably just want the one that had like grossed the most. If I had like a cut of that, so probably like Avatar or something.
Good point. Very good point.
Avatar 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah. Whenever those.
Like I just go around and be like, yeah, I directed Avatar.
I would pick Power Rangers. I don't know why, but for me,
That's
it's like the one franchise I would want to do is Power Rangers. I feel like it's got the franchise potential, but no one takes it seriously at all. Yet it's got how many seasons, so it's like there's enough lore to build in there for the fans. I think we could pull a DC with the franchise and pretend like it's going to be a Power Ranger story, but it's really this coming-of-age tale, that we're just making it into a big blockbuster type thing. And I think when I saw the short come out...
Red Ranger?
You know what? I'd pick a different colored Ranger this time around, and I'd throw a loop for everybody. But no, I remember when the... online there was like that online Power Ranger, the short film, the fan short film that like blew up, that I was like, oh dang, they made Power Rangers dark and gritty, but it showed like, I don't know, you could do something different with a big property. And I grew up watching Power Rangers, so it's like I would never touch Batman because I'm just not gonna. I think he's like too big of a property to touch. I think Power Rangers is good enough.
Okay, but didn't one of the Power Rangers like kill his friend with a sword or something?
Yeah. But I think that was outside of the Power Ranger lore. He was not on the job while he did that. At least I hope not. But
he was wearing the Ranger suit.
Can you imagine that? He like hit the thing and tried to morph? No.
Yeah, I would pick Coraline. I don't know why.
Ooh.
I want to be known as the guy that did Coraline. Because I would want to do something like stop motion to just like, I want to experience that, even though it sounds like kind of a hellish experience. But I think it would feel cool to have something like that on under my belt.
I'm gonna change my answer to Shrek.
1, 2, or 3, or 4.
Oh, Shrek 1. That's just like just the classic.
Classic Shrek.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the best.
I'd be like, yeah, it was my decision to use like a Smash Mouth song.
Yeah.
It was a last minute addition that you had. I'm surprised you didn't say in terms of stop motion, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Or is that too much of a holy grail? You know,
I thought about it, but that movie is it's too perfect for me to put my sweaty little hands on it. I don't want to tinker with anything there. But yeah,
it's fair.
This next one comes from Born Bucket 93, and it is thoughts on 90s cartoons. Who had the best shows? Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney, Warner Brothers, or another wild card I can't think of. I am personally a Nickelodeon boy. I have no disrespect towards... Honestly, Disney just wasn't killing it in the cartoon department. I mean, in some ways, at least like the stuff I grew up on. Cartoon Network, I respect that side. Warner Brothers, respect it. But Nickelodeon, I think I'll always have a soft spot for.
Yeah. The question, though, it's like 90s cartoons. Cartoon Network wasn't making a lot of cartoons in the 90s. They were mainly just showing old cartoons.
I didn't know that.
So, I mean... Yeah, because I feel like it was the 2000s really when a lot of original stuff was being made. Because 90s, I watched Cartoon Network in the 90s, and it was just I watched a lot of Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
it's true.
And that turned
into
like
Ed, Ed and Eddie.
Yeah.
Courage, all of those like would have come a little bit later. I think Warner Bros had a lot of great animated movies. So I don't think they were doing well in or like ones that would have been doing well on TV. I think may have had better movies than the ones on TV, vice versa and such. But yeah, I think I'd pick Cartoon Network in the 2000s, not the 90s.
I think we're all. I think we cut out a little bit there at the end.
I choose Dragon Tales on PBS. It's 05 run from 2010. You picking like a completely different one?
If we all pretend we heard this, since he's sending in his own audio file, we can just be like,
that's what I was gonna say. It's gonna be fine in the final product.
I'm gonna be clear in the regular audio file, and then you guys are just gonna be like, yes, and I'm like pouring out my heart. You guys are like, yes, I agree. And
we're just like kind of laughing along. Like,
nice point.
Nice point, Art. Just love how it lags and he's laughing, and then he's back to normal. Yeah. What about you, Zach?
90s Nick taught me how to dream, I think. Taught me to be an imaginative person going on adventures with the Rugrats and such.
Definitely. Yeah. Rugrats are kind of underrated. I mean, they're not that underrated. People love the Rugrats, but
Yeah.
they don't get enough talk.
The Rugrats were fun because they just had like so many episodes about like Jewish holidays.
Yeah.
As
So
a young
like-
Jew, there was not a lot of
Yeah.
representation out there.
Exactly. We're on the same page.
Yeah. Well, this last one comes from Scared Noticed Zero. It's not a movie question. We were low. I say this all the time. We were low on questions this week. But this one goes, after 2 years of not dating anyone, yesterday was the day that I decided to finally speak to this cute girl I know from my rowing club, only to find that she has a boyfriend. Any advice? So some dating advice for Scared Notice Zero.
Okay. This is the first time we've had a question like this. I just want to be clear to our guests that we don't do dating advice on every episode.
Yeah. We finished the
But
movie talk.
I
with
think,
dating.
yeah, I would say definitely like turn your attention elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think this is too difficult.
See-
I'm gonna say do not pursue this relationship.
Yeah. If she's taken, that's just very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to start the acceptance process.
Yeah. If you like her for her personality, you can still be her friend.
Of course.
But don't assume that it will be anything other than that. And maybe she can introduce you to somebody who is similar to her.
That's a great point.
Yeah. But again, do not try to become friends with the expectation
Yeah.
that might turn into something else.
No.
Not only will it hurt her, but it will only hurt you more. So yeah.
Honestly, I kind of like the vibe of our answer to that question. I think all four of us should start a new dating advice podcast. I'm just proposing it right now.
Interkarst.
That's all.
Where it's like intercourse, but I think we're getting somewhere here.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways. If anyone has anything to add to that, feel free. But I think that will do. So I think those were our questions for this week. I guess we'll start the wrap-up process really quick. We just have like some closing things. You guys, we do have a movie for next week. Next week we will be talking about Fargo, which will be, I think it's on Hulu.
Which I've never seen.
Jeff's never seen it, and that's why we're watching it, to get that
Nice.
first reaction.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
You know
Great
nothing about it?
Did he say something?
I don't know if I'm coming through or not. Never mind.
No, what'd you say?
I am so excited to get this audio file.
Yeah.
I said, Jeff, have you seen any bit of it? Like, do you know any spoilers from Fargo?
Not really. I think at one point I did, but I just forgot about it.
Damn, that's nice. Because there's some iconic shots that I feel like most people already have in the back of their mind. So if you go into it
Yeah,
fresh, like,
I just know like one thing about it, but I don't know any of the context surrounding it. So I think it'll be like a surprise at least until like a minute beforehand or something.
Yeah.
that sounds dope.
So that's what's up there. Next, we like to just read a review to encourage you guys to leave reviews. This one comes from Lindsay Porteus. Subject line is a real laugh. 5 stars, and it reads, "This podcast makes me laugh out loud so much. My son constantly listens to it in the car with me, and the conversation of Karsten and Jeff seem to always make us happy. Hope Jeff and Karsten are well and keep going with all of this great content." Thank you. I didn't think we'd appeal to
I know.
parents. Yeah, but
That's a great review.
yeah, thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, I guess now we should throw it over to Zach and Art to see if you guys want to plug all of your stuff.
For sure.
We do a podcast called Intercut, and we post about once a week, usually on Fridays, and sometimes more than that. We are Intercut Pod on YouTube and various social channels. If you do that kind of thing, check it out. Or the audio podcast too is also Intercut. So thanks so much for having us on.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks for being on. I feel like our podcasts are a nice companion to each other, and all of our fans of each podcast should listen to both podcasts.
I consider
Right.
us the sister podcasts of movie YouTube.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's like sister cities. I think that if we all agree to that, we can make that a thing. It's like on Wikipedia, we just enter our podcast and have like sister podcasts.
Yeah.
Intercut.
Yeah.
Related to.
And then we can throw Interkarst in there at some point.
Yeah.
Once we get that off the ground. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And I think that'll do. Jeff, do you have anything else to say?
I don't. I mean, I think that you just need a little gap for when you after we hang up with them where you'll add in the
Yeah, I'll get the
patrons.
patrons.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end. I just wanted to it's going to happen right now. Anyways,
Okay.
Catch you on the flip side.
Catch you on the flip side. If you guys want to, we do
Catch
this
you
thing.
on the flip side.
Yep.
Catch you on the flip side.
Cool.
Flip side.
Awesome. There we go.